When I was a kid, I believed my body was made for speed. I didn't know anything about calories or body fat or genetics. I only knew the feeling of running barefoot on dusty ground, my heart pounding, my lungs burning in the best way possible. I knew the sound of my feet hitting the track, the echo of cheers in my head even when no one was watching. Back then, I didn't see myself as overweight. I saw myself as an athlete. Every afternoon after school, I'd rush outside with a ball tucked under my arm. I imagined stadium lights instead of the fading sun, crowds instead of quiet streets. I'd practice until my shirt was soaked and my legs trembled. In my mind, I wasn't just playing, I was training. I told everyone who asked that I was going to be an athlete someday. A real one. The kind whose name people remembered. But as I grew older, my body started changing faster than my dreams could keep up. Puberty hit, and with it came weight that didn't fall off no matter how hard I ran. My parents meant well, but food was love in our house. Big portions, second helpings, celebrations around the table. At the same time, life grew heavier too. My father lost his job. My mother worked longer hours. Sports fees became, maybe next year. Then, not right now. Practice turned into pickup games, then into nothing at all. By the time I entered middle school, my classmates had noticed what I was trying not to see. I wasn't just big anymore, I was slow. Coaches stopped putting me in races. During team selections, my name was called last, if at all. I remember standing on the field one day, hands on my knees, pretending to tie my shoe just so no one would see my face when the coach said, "Maybe you should try something else." That sentence stayed with me longer than any trophy ever could. I tried harder. I ran extra laps after practice, long after everyone else had gone home. I skipped meals some days and overate on others. I watched videos of professional athletes, convincing myself I could still be one of them if I just pushed harder. But the truth was cruel. My body didn't respond the way I expected. The scale kept climbing. My joints started aching. Breathing felt heavier, even when I wasn't moving. High school was where the dream really began to crack. Tryouts were brutal. The locker room mirrors felt like enemies, reflecting a body that no longer matched the athlete in my head. I'd see other kids flexing, laughing, confident. I kept my eyes down, changing as fast as possible. During drills, I could feel eyes on me, not cheering, not encouraging, just watching, waiting for me to fail. And I did. I wasn't the worst player, but I was the most visible. Every misstep, every slow sprint, every heavy breath stood out. When cuts were announced, my name wasn't on the list. I told myself it was okay, that I'd focus on school instead. But when I got home, I locked my bedroom door and cried into my pillow so no one could hear. That was the first time I stopped believing. Without sports, I didn't know who I was. The routine that had once kept me moving disappeared, replaced by long hours sitting, scrolling, eating out of boredom and sadness. The weight came faster then, piling on year after year. I avoided school events, avoided photos, avoided mirrors. People stopped asking me what I wanted to be when I grew up. They already thought they knew. Doctors started using words like obese and at risk. Family members offered advice I didn't ask for. Just eat less. Just move more. As if I hadn't tried. As if I hadn't already lost something precious. Every comment felt like proof that my dream had been childish, unrealistic, embarrassing. By my early 20s, I had completely buried the idea of being an athlete. I told myself it was silly anyway. Dreams change, right? But late at night, when my phone was quiet and my room was dark, I'd replay old memories in my head, the sound of my breath while running, the feeling of strength in my legs, the certainty that my body was capable of something great. The breaking point came one ordinary day. I was walking up a short flight of stairs at work when my chest tightened and my vision blurred. I had to stop halfway, pretending to check my phone while my heart raced out of control. People passed by without noticing, and I was grateful for that, but also terrified. I was still young, and my body was already giving up on me. That night, I sat alone and admitted something I'd avoided for years. My weight hadn't just stood in the way of my dream. It had taken control of my life. But instead of giving up completely, something unexpected happened. I felt angry. Not at myself, but at the idea that my story was already finished. I wasn't trying to be a professional athlete anymore. I didn't need stadiums or medals. What I wanted was to move without pain, to breathe without fear, to feel strong again, even if no one was watching. So I started small, painfully small. I walked, just 10 minutes at first, then 15. I tracked what I ate, not to punish myself, but to understand myself. I learned how emotional eating had filled the gaps left by disappointment. I learned that discipline wasn't about suffering. It was about showing up even when motivation was gone. The mirror didn't change quickly, but my mindset did. Each week I felt a little more capable, a little less trapped. For the first time in years, my body wasn't an enemy, it was a work in progress. And somewhere along the way, I realized something important. My childhood dream hadn't died. It had evolved. I might never be the athlete I imagined as a child, but I was becoming something just as meaningful, someone who refused to let weight define the limits of his life. And this was only the beginning. The beginning was quiet. No applause, no dramatic transformation. Just me, a worn pair of sneakers, and a decision I had to remake every single day. Some mornings I woke up sore, discouraged, convinced I was too late to change anything. Other mornings, I felt a spark of pride just for not quitting the day before. Progress came in inches, not miles, and I had to learn to respect that. I started waking up earlier, before the world had expectations of me. Early mornings felt safer, fewer eyes, fewer comparisons. I'd walk the same route through my neighborhood, watching the sky slowly brighten. At first, my breathing was loud and uneven. I hated how aware I was of my own body. But over time, the rhythm returned. Not the speed I once had as a child, but a steadiness that felt honest. I was moving again, and that mattered. Food was the harder battle. I had used it for comfort for so long that taking it away felt like losing a friend. There were nights I sat on my bed staring at the wall, fighting the urge to eat just to feel something familiar. Instead, I wrote. I wrote about the kid I used to be, the one who believed without hesitation. I wrote about the shame, the anger, the grief of letting go of a dream too early. Those pages became a mirror that didn't lie, but also didn't judge. Weeks turned into months. My weight began to drop slowly, almost cautiously, as if my body didn't trust me yet. My knees hurt less. Stairs stopped feeling like mountains. One afternoon, without planning to, I jogged for a few seconds. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't fast. But when my feet left the ground and landed again, something inside me unlocked. I stopped and laughed out loud, breathless and shocked. I hadn't run in years, and yet, there I was. That moment changed how I saw myself. I wasn't chasing the version of me who never struggled. I was building a new one, someone stronger because of the struggle. I began setting goals that had nothing to do with appearance. Run 1 full minute without stopping. Stretch without pain. Sleep through the night. Each goal met felt like reclaiming a small piece of myself that had been lost along the way. People started to notice. Coworkers commented that I looked healthier. Friends invited me out more, and this time I said yes. Not because I was suddenly confident, but because I was tired of hiding. There were awkward moments, chairs I avoided, clothes that still didn't fit right, but I stayed anyway. Each time I did, the fear lost a little power. I joined a local gym eventually, terrified on my first day. The mirrors, the machines, the sound of weights clanking, it all brought back memories of failure. But I reminded myself, I wasn't there to impress anyone. I was there to rebuild trust with my body. I worked with a trainer who didn't care about my past or my excuses. He cared about consistency. "Show up," he told me. "That's the win." And I did. Some days I felt strong. Other days I barely finished my workout. There were plateaus where the scale refused to move and weeks when my motivation disappeared entirely. I slipped sometimes, old habits creeping back during stressful days. But instead of letting one bad week erase months of effort, I learned to pause, reset, and continue. That was new. That was growth. One evening, while cleaning out a drawer, I found an old photo of myself as a child. I was standing on a dusty field, knees scraped, grinning like I owned the world. I stared at that photo for a long time. I expected to feel sadness. Instead, I felt something warmer. Pride. That kid hadn't been wrong. He had been brave enough to dream before the world told him not to. I pinned the photo above my desk. Not as a reminder of what I failed to become, but as proof of what I was capable of feeling again. A year into my journey, I signed up for a local charity run. Just a 5K. Nothing extreme. On race day, I stood among strangers stretching and adjusting their shoes, my heart pounding harder than it had in a long time. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the lightest. But when the race started, I moved forward with everyone else. I ran. I walked. I ran again. As I crossed the finish line, tears blurred my vision. No one cheered my name. No medal changed my life. But I had done something I once believed my weight had stolen forever. I had shown up for myself. Now, when people ask me about my childhood dream of being an athlete, I don't answer with regret anymore. I tell them the truth. My weight stood in the way, yes. It slowed me down. It forced me to face uncomfortable realities. But it didn't end my story. Because being an athlete was never just about winning or being chosen or having the perfect body. It was about movement, discipline, resilience, the willingness to fall and get back up. And in that sense, I finally became what I always wanted to be. Not the athlete I imagined as a child, but the one I needed as an adult.